Hello everyone, I'm going to give you a few minutes to log on and then we will get started with our beautiful guest. Come on in, please tap the screen as you enter the room, the chat, please. Please, 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 and thank you. I'm going to give you about another minute. Y'all know I like to start on time.
I'm so excited.
You're excited? I'm so excited. Don't ask me what made me think of, well, you know what made me think of it. It's the word, of course. Okay, y'all, come on in. Please tap the screen. Please show us some love because it's all about love, okay? Love, 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 love. All right, so hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope you had a marvelous Sunday as we did. So we hope you did too. And today I have my special guest here, and her name is
Yolanda Jennings.
Yolanda Jennings. And me and Yolanda met about maybe 3 to 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So I met, just to catch you up a little bit, I met Yolanda about 4 years ago when I had my women empowerment, the women empowerment that I tell you all about all the time. It was off the chain. I don't remember who gave me your information when I reached out to you.
I don't know how I found it. I have no clue.
Okay, so we don't.
I literally don't have a clue. I think I seen an advertisement.
Really? You might have.
And then I reached out to you.
Okay, that's possible.
Yeah.
So when I had my event, although initially it started out for businesses, I eventually evolved and I started incorporating resources that was needed in our community. So Yolanda at the time was with a company and an organization, I'll say, an organization, and she was actually there doing work for DV. So after that, her and another person that was at my event doing DV, they linked. Oh well, you know what?
I'm gonna shout out my girl Christine, because literally that event really was a part of a catalyst for change in my life. Because once I met Christine at this event, and one of the first speaking engagements that I had, Christine showed up, and I was just so shocked that I met her there, and then we just been going ever since.
I love all of this for you, because when I first met her, she was like, oh, I'm so shy, I'm so quiet. And now, if y'all look at her, y'all might be like, oh, she looks so familiar. Because girlfriend is on the news all the time doing her thing, okay? She is always working in our community all the time. So, okay, so we'll start there with the DV situation. So, how did you start? Like, what made you gravitate towards that organization at that particular time?
So, just basically, I'm a survivor.
Okay.
And 20 years ago, this past September 29th, marked 20 years that my sister was unalived.
Okay. Due
to DV. When her fiance unalived her.
Okay.
And I had made a promise the day of her funeral that I would never allow her name to be forgotten, and that I would do everything I could to spread awareness about DV. Now, mind you, I had been doing this for years after my own.
Okay.
But after it happened to my sister, it took about some years because I had small kids and there was only so much I could do at the time.
Okay.
But just to be really honest, about 10 years ago, 10, 11, 12 years ago. I ended up homeless,
Okay.
you know. And while I was in the shelter, I went to my first DV awareness walk.
Okay.
And I just been going ever since, you know.
Right.
And sometimes, I just want to say, sometimes, you know, God have to put you in a place where you have nobody else to depend on but Him. So He could just tear you down and build you up. And so that's what happened for me.
Right. Won't He do it, y'all?
Yes.
Step it up for God.
Yes.
God will do it. So, well, that's a good story. I mean, you know, that's good that you shared that with us because I didn't know that.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And I also lost a cousin.
Okay.
To DV. But prior to that, the organization that I was with at the time of your event was called Heisel Haven. And it was a Christian-based DV organization.
Okay, and because it was Christian-based, did they also help others as well if they weren't necessarily Christian?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
But we were not a direct service organization.
Okay, so what is
it? Was about spreading the word.
Okay.
We really wanted to go into churches.
Oh, okay.
And we wanted to educate the church leaders, okay, on how it's many people in your church that's been affected by DV.
Yes.
And the crazy thing was how many pastors' wives and women who were leaders in the church came and told me how they had been victims.
Right.
And how they were mistreated. And how the leaders could go on, do what they're going to do, but the wives were ostracized because they came forward and talked about it. Yeah. Ultimately, the organization shut down for that very reason. Many churches were not open to have that conversation.
And you know, it's crazy that you said that because that's my mission and that's my purpose for this podcast, to have the uncomfortable, taboo issues talked about. And you all didn't see it, but me and Yolanda, we talk. And we do not agree on everything, but it's okay because we have the uncomfortable conversations and we walk away from the conversation the same way we walked into it. Just the only thing that we walk away from and we take away is each other's perspective, and we just respect that. So that's one of the things that I want to bring into the community and bring amongst us. Like, we need to get used to having conversations with each other and learning how to talk to each other and share information and resources.
Yes.
So, okay, so then what happened after you left what's it called? I'm sorry, the organization, the first one?
Heisel Haven.
Heisel Haven.
Shout out to Jenny, who was the founder of that organization.
Okay. Shout out to Jenny. So then what was your next step?
So then it was like right around the pandemic was about to happen. And so, well, the pandemic happened.
It happened.
And Christine ended up asking me to come on the board of Purple House Project.
Okay.
Which was also completely life-changing for me.
Yeah.
So for me, the pandemic was a blessing.
Right.
Because at the time, I was in a dead-end job. I didn't feel or believe that I had marketable skills, to do something else. I didn't know my worth, ultimately. I didn't know my worth. And so being able to, the pandemic caused me, so now I'm no longer working. And so I decided so what I came on to do is social media.
Okay.
I ended up being social media and the director of public relations for Purple House Project.
Okay.
And it just, I just began to teach myself so many skills. Also, for years, I had wanted to take the 40-hour DV training.
Okay.
And but I could never do it because I couldn't afford to take off work.
So what is that training?
Well, it's the certified DV advocate training.
Like speaking engagements and.
Well, you go the training basically teaches you about what is DV, you know, how to deal with it, how to talk to other people about it.
Okay.
That's basically what that 40-hour training. It breaks it down, and we have scenarios and all these things.
Okay.
So prior to the pandemic, like I said, I couldn't take off work to be able to do that.
Right.
So when the pandemic came, now they were offering it virtually.
Oh, wow.
All right. And so I was with Purple House Project, and that allowed me to go ahead and take that DV training. That DV training then prepared me for the position that I have now.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
So now currently I work for an organization that is a nonprofit, and I'm a care outreach specialist. And that, like I said, that DV training basically set me up for that job, because although I knew most of the information, I had taught myself.
Right.
I had lived it.
Right.
You know, I had lived experience.
Right.
But there was just there was different terminology.
Okay.
That I needed to know.
Right.
So that when I went into this interview for this other job that I've been with now for the last 3 years.
Okay.
It allowed me to be able to go into that job.
Okay.
And it's just been one blessing after
I love
another.
all of this for you.
Thank you.
I love, because you was just like such in a shell. You
I was.
like, so now you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing this speaking engagement here. I'm doing there. I'm going here. I'm doing this walk. I'm like, you are just like seen, noticed, and your sister would be very proud of you because you are carrying it well.
Thank you.
So okay, so then it's the Purple House Project. Shout out to Christine Joy for that. You guys, like I said, you guys did a lot. So can you just tell us some of the work that you did in the community? You don't have to like say every single thing because there's a lot that you all have done. But can you just like tell the people like some of the things that you've done?
So with Purple House Project, like I said, I was primarily social media, public relations, you know, just getting out the word about the organization. That was primarily my job. Purple House Project, which if you're asking what that organization is about. So Purple House Project, is for women who have been impacted by DV. Okay. And Christine has a holistic view, because there's a lot of different organizations out here that do direct service and that kind of thing. But Christine's vision was to tackle it from a holistic point, you know, being able to actually bringing joy to people, because DV is not something,
that's the last name too.
You know, right. DV is not a subject that's, you know, brings up a lot of joy. I mean, they don't bring it. There is no joy in it.
There is none.
But oftentimes people just, you know, just sitting down having a meal with somebody and being able to talk, you know, those kind of things are some of the things we had a community garden that Christine opened up in the shelter in North Philly for women. And so the community garden now is you got to check it out. It is really, really beautiful.
Really?
Yes.
That's
yes.
nice. That's nice.
And you know, we've done a lot of things just helping families. You know, Christine often goes with families to court and stuff like that if they need somebody just to be there.
Support.
Yeah, exactly,
right.
exactly. You know, I'm very blessed that you know, they even, you know, helped my family because in 2019 my sister ended up taking on my cousin's children, okay? And so she needed a washer and dryer because she had to completely remove from her home after. So let me just give a little backup.
Okay.
So my cousin was also murdered in Youngstown, Ohio, and she had 3 children. Okay, she has 3 children. And those children ended up having to move all the way to Seattle, Washington, to be with my sister. And so my sister had to move out of her little apartment, move into a whole new house. You know, thousands of dollars of going back and forth from Seattle to Ohio.
Right.
And so Purple House Project was able to purchase a washer and dryer.
Oh, that was nice.
You know, for her. You know, so they have done things like, you know, pay rent for people,
right.
you know, for a couple of months to help them, you know, get on their feet, you know, different things.
Yeah, that was a good show too. If you haven't gotten a chance to check that out with Christine, it was a very good show. It was very informative. I have been to a seminar before that Christine was a part of, and that's where I got my knowledge of DV from, because I didn't know, like, I only knew the basics, like the bottom line basics, and I've shared like parts and bits and pieces of my own story, and I'm like, yeah, well, I was in a DV situation, but I knew what it was as I was dealing with it because of the information I had from Christine.
Yes.
So I'm like, this is a DV situation I'm involved in right now.
Yes.
So I was able to like pay attention to the signs. I say it almost every show, pay attention to the signs. And I just kind of knew what I was dealing with. So yeah, I easily got out of that, you know, fortunately, thank God. But you know, it's a life lesson.
Yes.
So, okay, so who you're with crime survivors,
right.
for?
But okay. Can you mind if I
go back? No, we can go back.
Let me go back, because tonight's the name of the theme for tonight is From Pain to Purpose. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Are we ready to take the journey with you?
Yes. Yes. So I just want to, you know, just kind of share with people, you know, who I am, my background a little bit. Okay.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I'm a PK. I'm a preacher's kid. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea that I never saw domestic violence in my home. Okay. You know, my father was not abusive. My grandfather was not abusive. I had never been exposed to that before. However, when I was 14, I was, I don't know how to say it, S-aid.
Okay.
S-aid on my way to school. Mm-hmm. I was snatched and I was S-aid at 14 years old.
Okay.
Which totally broke my ear. Like, because I grew up in the church, loving the Lord. You know, I nobody ever had to make me go to church. I love the Lord. Right. I love to worship. I loved all of those things. Mm-hmm. And just to be honest, when this happened, I didn't understand.
Okay.
I didn't understand why God would allow this to happen to me. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. You know, at that time, I wasn't, you know, what they called a fast girl, right, or anything. Right. I didn't know why, you know, this had happened to me. And then it just really turned my teenage years. You know, those are the years that you should be enjoying life.
Here in the world.
Exactly. And it totally, you know, destroyed me, just to be honest. Right. You know, I always felt like I was an outsider, even as a kid. Okay. You know, because I was the, you know, quote unquote good little church girl, you know. Right. And I always felt like I was different. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was, oftentimes when I was a little kid, you know, when people would play on the playground and all, I was never chosen for games. Okay. I was the kid that was left over. Okay. You know, when they picked teams,
you was the last one to get picked.
Yeah, I wasn't even picked. I was just the last one left over. Okay. That I felt. That's how I felt. Right. I felt like somebody got stuck with.
Okay.
And that was how I felt. Mm-hmm. And even though, you know, being a preacher's kid, you know, I'm not doing. I can't not doing what everybody else doing. I can't go, where everybody else go, And even as a teenager in church, I felt like the young people really, didn't talk to me as much because they were scared I might go tell my grandfather something. That's how I felt.
Right.
I don't know if that's how it was, but that's how I felt.
Right.
So I always felt different. I always felt like, I was an outsider, like looking in.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So when I got essayed at 14, it was almost like, I don't even know how to put the words. It was devastating.
Right.
Okay. It was devastating.
Right.
And then it happened to me again.
Oh wow.
When I was 18. And that really took me out. Okay. And I ended up having a child from that. Okay. So at this point, in my mind, this is all I'm worth. I'm only worth somebody using me sexually.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So I became very promiscuous.
Let me ask you this question. Do you feel like your statement that you just said, do you feel like with that happening, do you feel like I'm the chosen one? I'm not that one that I'm used to being, like the one that's left out?
Did I feel like the chosen one?
Not like chosen like that. Like chosen like they picked me for this. You see what I'm saying? Like, because you said, like, you became promiscuous. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, so this is what I'm chosen for.
Not no, like I'm not chosen. I didn't think of the word chosen.
Right. Well, maybe
there was nothing chosen. It was just I was nothing. Like. All
right. So let me change the terminology.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, like, you were picked for this specific thing. Like, I wasn't picked for volleyball. I wasn't picked for basketball. But I was picked for this horrible thing. Like 2 times.
Yeah, I just felt like this is all I was worth.
Right.
Look, that's the only way I could think of it. That was the thought process.
Right.
This was all I was worth.
Right.
Okay. And so I ended up having 6 kids. Okay. 6 baby daddies.
Okay.
I spent years looking for love in all the wrong places, mm-hmm. and all the wrong faces. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point where I believed that God could never use me. I felt like I had disappointed God to the point of no return. Okay?
So you felt like you had disappointed God?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I felt like I had disappointed God to the point of no return. And so, and this was years. So when you talk about, that's the reason why I was very much a loner, mm-hmm. Because I felt like whenever I would get close to people, I end up getting hurt.
Right.
Right. Or I was misunderstood. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it was just easier for me to just stay to myself in my own little world, mm-hmm. And so, but then one day, after years of this, I remember one day just having this moment where I'm sitting in my living room and and at this point I'm tired. Mm-hmm. I was living from crisis to crisis, literally. It was just like, whenever this happened, well, I'm just waiting for the next thing to happen.
Right.
That was my life.
Right.
A crisis to crisis. And so, but one day, I broke down and I had one of those gut-wrenching cries. One of them snotty nose, hollering from the very pits of your stomach.
Right.
I just began to holler and cry out to God, and I was like, so God, is this all there is?
Right.
Like, is this all my life is going to be?
Right.
It's just constant heartbreak, pain,
Terrible.
loneliness.
Yeah.
Just living from crisis to crisis. It was so bad that I would say I was like, remember, heard of King Midas.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they said King Midas had everything he touched turned to gold.
Mm-hmm.
But I told myself I was the opposite of that, and that everything I touched turned to mud. Okay, that's what I believe. That was the self-talk. My self-talk was, you're worthless. You're a disappointment. You're a disappointment to your family. You're a disappointment to God. You are unworthy to be used. That was my self-talk on a daily basis. Until this encounter where I was crying and I was hollering and I was asking God, is this all there is? And all of a sudden, this is real. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, it felt like I could feel God wrap his arms around me in that moment.
Right.
And I could feel my face up against his chest. Mm-hmm. And I was just hollering and crying into his chest. Mm-hmm. And something happened that day.
Right.
Now, my life didn't automatically just change.
Right.
Literally, it got worse. And that's when I ended up homeless.
Oh, wow.
However, like I said, sometimes we have to hit rock bottom. Sometimes we got to hit rock bottom so that God can strip away all that stuff and rebuild us up.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you look like you was going to say something.
I don't even know. I'm just so engaged in the story. I'm just listening because this is a lot.
Yeah.
This is a lot.
Yes.
And we actually had a comment from Molly, a friend of mine, and she said, you are very strong to speak on this topic. And she said she thanks you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So once I ended up homeless, like I said, that's when I did my first DV awareness walk. And like I said, my life was it was a shambles. So at that time, my youngest son was in therapeutic foster care. Okay. Because he had struggled with a lot of mental health issues, and we're going to get all into that. Okay. But it got to the point where I couldn't handle him. So he was in therapeutic foster care. But I'm going to tell you how God works. So the shelter that they put me in was a block from the church that he was going to church with a minister. God, because and when I tell you that, it's so many things in my life when I see and I look back now and I know when I thought that he had abandoned me, mm-hmm. he had a plan. Okay? So, in any case, went there, was at the shelter, and so while I was in the shelter, I saw that sometimes the people that worked in the shelter, when donations came in,
they would grab them first.
They would grab them first and leave what was left over. And that really, really bothered me. So I went to the church, Society for Helping Church, and I went to them and I said, can we start having clothing giveaways at the church and bring the ladies down to the church? Okay. That ended up us doing that for about 7 or 8 years.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a long run.
Yes.
That's a long
Where
run.
every year we would have a couple of clothing drives. And then I just really, really got into the volunteering. Mm-hmm. Feeding the homeless, clothing the homeless, talking to DV victims and that kind of thing. And so yeah, my son, my youngest son, he was right there. He was right there with me. So God, I didn't know then. Mm-hmm. what was happening. Right. I just knew that I had to do something. You know, it was I had to do something. And so yeah, so we did that for 7 or 8 years.
Oh, that was good.
And so when we talking about purpose, from pain to purpose, I've had a lot of pain. You know, losing my sister 20 years ago to DV. She was unalived by her fiance.
In the
They,
cousin. Okay.
you know, over 25 times. My sister. She had two kids that were left behind, which my parents ended up, you know, raising and whatnot. Then in 2019, my cousin, her children's father, unalived her in the house with the kids in the house, okay, with the baby in the room, in her arms, okay. And then just recently, 7 months ago, I lost my youngest son, Colin. He was in a psychologically abusive relationship. Okay. And he had a mental health breakdown and ended up being unalived by police in Columbus, Ohio. And so these last 7 months, you know, it's been hard.
More trauma.
Yeah, it's been hard. But when we talk about from purpose, again, from pain to purpose, what I'm so grateful for is that now I'm at a point where I can see everything that I've been through. Every single thing God is using for such a time as this.
Yes.
You know, and, you know, even the losses, a lot of people don't understand how it is that it's 7 months. And I have not stopped. I haven't stopped working or anything in these last 7 months. And people don't understand why. It's only God.
Right.
It's only God.
Right. So is that what made you become a part of? What's your title in the new organization that you're in?
So I'm with an organization it's a national organization called Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice. Okay. And we have over 200,000 members across the country. And I am the Philadelphia chapter coordinator.
Okay.
And it's like, just when I think about it, you know, I get choked up.
Right.
Just knowing how good God, He is. You know, sometimes we think that He's abandoning us, that He's leaving us, but He doesn't. But we have to hold on.
Let me share something with you, right? I had went to a funeral one time, right? This message at this funeral touched me so much that I was talking about this message for like 2 to 3 weeks. And the message was that God gives you a yes, a no, and a not right now, right? And it was like, I get chills talking about this message because I'm telling you, when I take y'all through the course, y'all gonna be like, so, you know, it's the pastor was saying how, you know, when we get the yeses, we like, oh, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Oh, I knew you was going to do it for me, God. And when we get the no's, it's like, you know, God, I prayed. God, I asked you. God, I needed this. God, you know, whatever. And then you're mad that God didn't give you what you asked for. But, you know, is a yes, is a no, and a right, not right now. And sometimes that no is not a bad thing. So then in my mind, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking and I'm like, okay, I'm just saying, like, how can I make this relatable or understandable? So when I share this message with people, I can,
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm like, you know what? It's just like when a kid asks, Mom, can I spend the night over at my friend's house?
Mm-hmm.
And, Mom like, no. And you're like, Mom, like your family didn't let you go where everybody else was going.
Mm-hmm.
No, you can't. And you like, everybody else is going. Like, why can't I go? And your mom might have told you no because it might be a molester in the house. It might be a gun or, somebody irresponsible or whatever. It might be whatever, and it's harm at the house. So your mom tells you no. And you don't know that no is a good thing because it's potentially saving you from something.
Yes.
Right? So then, let's just say that something was then removed from the house. The man moved. He moved on. He's no longer in the house, or big brother, whoever is no longer that threat in the house. So mom says, oh, okay, yeah, you can go now. It was a no for now because it wasn't safe for you.
Yes.
But now it's safe, so yes, now you can go.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, that message just like, I'm like, oh, this is a message right here. I just kind of made this my own thing, but I'm just like, that is so relatable because it's like, you always be like, why didn't I get the job? Mm-hmm. Because the job might have been something that's going to stress you the hell out and you probably couldn't handle it. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes a no from God is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it's a wait a minute, not right now. It's no for now.
Yes.
It's not no forever.
Yes.
So yeah, when you just said that, it just made me think of that message again because I always like to carry that message with me for now because it just was like, I was like, oh, this is a message right here.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes, and going off of that too, oftentimes we ask like, God, why me? Mm-hmm. Why all this? Because I'm asked that many a times. Why me, God? Why? But the answer that I came up with was that He knew that I would take the message and that I would go with it. Okay. He knew that I would share my story.
Right.
That's the conclusion I came up with. Because you often like all of this tragedy. Why me? Why my family?
Right.
I've even had people have the audacity or the lack of compassion to say, oh yeah, your family must be cursed. Mm. Oh, but no, baby, my family is truly blessed. Okay. Yeah. And so going back to Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice, I came across Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice. It's going on 3 years now. But actually, Christine, Purple House Project, became a partner with them.
Okay.
And so, as the public relations person, I was tasked with going out and recruiting the people for us to take to Survivors Speak, our first Survivors Speak.
Okay.
And when I got there, it was so powerful that I was like, I gotta do this. Now, mind you, let me just go back. So that a few months prior to that, I had been talking to Christine.
Okay.
And I was really frustrated. Mm-hmm. Doing domestic violence awareness is it's frustrating. It can be very frustrating. Oftentimes, you could be trying to help somebody, but they're not ready. Right. They're not ready to take that step. Or one of the biggest things is, people calling for help. And there's a lack of resources to help them. And so I would send people to the domestic violence hotline. And they would be turned away because there is no beds. It was so frustrating. Here in Philadelphia, in a city that gets over 9,000 calls a year for DV, we only have 200 beds for DV victims. It's a whole lot of people right now that's in regular homeless shelters, families and kids that are in regular homeless shelters because there are not enough DV shelters in space. And that's a whole different...
And Christine did mention that when she was here. But let me say this, not to talk about voting, but I'm going to talk about voting. It matters. Don't wait till we get to the presidency. When we go to the judges and the senators and the governors and the mayors, hold them accountable. Go out to City Hall, do what y'all gotta do. I'm telling y'all, because it matters. Like, this stuff matters. Because if we don't fight for it, we're just allowing and accepting what's going on. So definitely, please start voting for everything. The presidency is not even the most important vote, to be honest with you. Your most important is like the local stuff that affects you directly. You want to tackle those issues and those problems that affect you directly. So make sure that you're starting to vote for things that's really important, because this is things that we can really start working on, because you don't want to wait to the end. So
yeah, but the reality is I don't know if they're ever going to increase that, just to be honest. So in any case, I was frustrated. I felt like I was just spinning my wheels. And so I remember, having another conversation with God.
Right.
And I said, God, what more? Like what more can I do? Okay?
Right.
And then I came in contact with Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice. And Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice, we actually advocate for safe justice policies. We are actually going to our state representatives and we're having these conversations, and we're trying to get bills passed. Right. Currently we have a couple of bills. One is a housing protections bill that will protect people. Let's say, God forbid, somebody get killed in your house, or your abuser is harassing you, and you need to leave, but you got a 6-month lease, and you can't get out of this lease. House Bill 1441 would allow people to get out of their leases without penalties, without having an eviction on their record,
right.
Being able to allow people to get their locks changed, and things like that. So we also trying to make sure that people have housing protections and employment protections. Oftentimes people, 3 days of bereavement is not enough.
It's an insult.
Okay?
It's an insult.
Especially, like, I know for me, like I said, my son just was just unalived 7 months ago. Well, thankfully, my job, had something that was like extended sick leave or whatever. But most people don't have that.
Right.
And so people have to go back to work after 3 days.
3 days.
And oftentimes people end up losing their jobs because mentally they're not able. They're not able to go back to work. We want people to be able to have, if they need to go to therapy, if they need to go to court and all, we want them to be able to know that their jobs are safe.
Right.
Right. We work toward lifting the cap on victim compensation. One of the problems with victim compensation is this idea of reimbursement. Well, most of us don't have the money to pay out of pocket to get reimbursed.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And then we're also fighting for trauma recovery centers. Okay. So Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice has 52 trauma recovery centers around the country. Okay. And we're trying to bring one to Philadelphia.
Okay.
And if you ask, what is a trauma recovery center? A trauma recovery center would be a one-stop shop where people could come and, they don't got to go from here to there and calling this one and that one, but they could go to the Trauma Recovery Center, be connected with victim compensation, be able to get connected with therapy, be able to, get whatever it is, that they need in one place versus having to go to all these different places and trying to figure it out.
Like going through trauma and then having to go to 50 other places to get through the traumatic situation.
Yes.
So yeah, that would be nice.
Yes.
That would be nice.
But Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice has really just like really changed my life. And it's the other part, the healing part. Being able to connect with survivors.
Right.
For us to be able to share our stories, okay, in a safe place.
Right.
Where so oftentimes people have never had the opportunity to share their story. Some people have kept their story inside for years and never shared. But they come to a Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice event, and they're surrounded by all these other survivors, and now they have a safe place,
right?
And now they can share their story, literally. And I'm getting choked up just thinking about it.
Fine. But I just saw like you all just had a walk.
Yes.
And it was so nice. Like I was just like scrolling through the pictures, and I'm looking because like when we think of crime survivors, we literally think of like the crime survivors, but we think of like we don't think about the trafficking. And like when I saw that on somebody's poster, I'm like, right off the bat, that's not something that I'm thinking of, but I'm like, oh wow, this is crazy. Like that's a really good one. So I did post a question of, and I didn't target it specifically towards crime, but I did post a question on my page and like, what have you survived in life? And we got a nice amount of answers, and like people have just survived so much in life.
Yes.
Like, and I mean in Philadelphia, if I had a bigger following and platform on this, like the list would probably be so long. Because here in Philadelphia, this is like survival of the fittest.
It is.
It's survival of the fittest here.
I'm from Ohio, and when I came to Philadelphia, I was told I would never make it here because I was too soft.
How old were you when you came here?
30s.
Okay.
I've been here 24 years. Okay. So, in my 30s.
Okay. Yeah. I can tell you're not from here because certain words you still pronounce.
Yeah, I got that Midwest, like, down south twang.
Exactly. But that doesn't.
And I never want to lose that.
No, you shouldn't.
That's
a part of who you are.
Yes. But Crime Survivors, yes, we just had our walk, and you said it looked nice. Girl, let me tell you, nice is not
right.
Like literally, the experience is. There are no words to put into this, okay? Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice, the plan was to bring 2,500 victims to march in Washington, D.C. Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice, made sure that these people had transportation. They put them up in hotels. They fed them. Okay. This is there's no fees. We don't pay fees, anything. Okay.
Let me ask you this. How can people become a part of this organization? Is it something, I'm sure a website?
Yeah. I was going to share it. It's cssj.org.
Okay.
But they really... I was talking to a lady from my church today, and she went. And, all of us get choked up when we think about what these 2 days meant.
Right.
It was just so powerful. Even for me personally, when I was in Columbus, when my son was unalived, there were organizations that reached out, and there was this one lady, her name is Tahnia Hudson.
Okay.
And I met her there, and she was there. She held my hand. You know, she really was there for me when, like, because I felt like everybody had, you know, turned their back on me at this point, and she was there with me in Columbus, and it was so amazing to get a text message while I'm at this event, and for us to reunite at this event, because she had come from Columbus. She had never even heard of crime survivors until she had met me.
Right.
And we met there. It was so many people that I have been on panels with that I've never even met.
Right.
And for us to come together at this event, and people who have, you know, most of these people, I think one of the most powerful things for me is always the bus ride. Because on that bus ride, you know, we go around and everybody shares their story.
Oh, wow.
And it's so powerful because many of those people, like I said, that was their first time sharing their story. Mm-hmm. So to be a part of something that is so healing, because that's what it is, it's healing. You know, because you feel truly heard. Mm-hmm. You feel truly seen. And I just feel so blessed to be a part of this organization. You know, I never, the idea of me being a leader, you know, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Just having the opportunity, you know, to bring crime survivors and safety and justice to Philadelphia.
Right.
And on Monday, to see 3 busloads of almost 200 people going to Washington. Okay? Like, it was beyond, it's beyond any words that I can say.
Right.
You know, I never imagined, because so when now we talking about from pain, from being abused, you know, from SA, from domestic violence, DV, to losing family member after family member, you know, from homelessness and all these things that I've survived. You know, all to find out that God was setting, God had a plan and a purpose, and for such a time as this. Right. But I just really want to, if anybody is watching this, I just want you to know that your pain is not in vain. You know, for me, you hear me talk about God. I mean, whatever you do, but for me, God, it has been my strength. You know, people keep telling me I'm strong. I'm not strong. I'm not strong. I am just grateful that I know who to go to and who to lean on for my strength. And so I want to encourage anybody that if you are, if you're going through something and it seems like there is no hope, there is hope. You know, one thing that people say about me is that I never give up. You know, and you can't give up. Because right when you get about to give up, your blessing might be right around the corner. Mm-hmm. Okay? People ask me now, well, you know, what you doing next? I don't have a clue what I'm doing next. I just follow the lead of God, right, and let him lead me. Right. Because my thought process is limited. Right. Okay? You know, I could have never imagined crime survivors. I could have never imagined even this. Sitting here, you know, talking to you, mm-hmm, and sharing my story. I could have never imagined this.
It's so crazy. I'm just thinking, right, as you're talking, I'm just thinking like, from pain to purpose. And we literally walked down this journey with you from pain to purpose. Because, like, when you first start talking and you telling us your trauma, and I'm just like, and I'm feeling it. And and then you're like, yeah, crime, and it's nice, and I'm like, now I'm smiling, like I really feel like you really took us down that journey, and I do appreciate you wholeheartedly for sharing this with us, because I tell my friends often, like when they go through things and they like, I want to talk about my story, but I don't know how to say it. I'm like, just talk, just say it.
Right.
I'm like, it's relatable with somebody. You never know who you can touch in a room. I appreciate you for telling your story.
But crime survivors, that's another thing about crime survivors. Crime survivors helped me because when I first, because all this stuff, even though I was raised a preacher's kid, when I was 7 years old, I was standing up before people, singing. I could do devotion at 7 years old on my own. But life happened.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And then the enemy come in, and he try to shut you down.
Yes.
It had gotten so much to the point where I felt like something had me by the throat, and I couldn't even put words together, and I had this desire to speak, but I said, I can't even speak. I'm stuttering. I can't get my words out. And all this kind of stuff. And then the enemy told me, yeah, you can't do this. Yeah, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do that. But I'm here today to say
and you speak
that
so well.
With God, all things are possible. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's my story.
Right.
And I get excited. I get excited because I don't know what my next step is. Right. It's exciting. It's like, okay, God, like,
what's next?
Well, yeah, exactly.
What's next?
Okay. What you about to do now?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
God, what you about to do now?
Right.
But I just want people to be encouraged that your pain, there is a purpose for your pain. Right. But you gotta have faith. You have to not give up. And if you in a situation where you are in an unhealthy relationship, there's hotlines, and after this is all over, I'm going to share all the hotline numbers. They'll be in the comments of this, but and there are people out here who understand. I want you to know that you are not alone. Okay? You are not alone. Trust me. You might seem like you're the only person going through this, but you are not alone. It is people out here. And if you have a story, share your story.
Share it.
Because just like tonight, I don't know who listening to this. You don't know who might be listening, who might need your story. One of the beautiful things about crime survivors is that they teach you how to share your story. Okay. They taught me how to share my story. They taught me about what it is to do advocacy work and, to do all those things.
So it brings it back to our conversation. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. It's an amazing organization of crime survivors. Almost everybody that's in a part of that organization is either a survivor, they've lost family members, but we come together and we honor our families by fighting for, legislation that would help them. And then we build healing communities. Collaborating. Another thing about crime survivors that people often, sometimes because it's a national organization, many of the smaller organizations will think, oh, well, they got all this money, they coming into our neighborhoods and no, crime survivors literally, we had partners and crime survivors gave grants to those partners, and so we're literally putting money and resources into the community. Right. It's an amazing organization, and I'm just blessed. I don't know that that I would be here 7 months later, after my son was unalived, but because I had support, I had so much support, and love, and and I do want to say this real quickly about that situation, because I'm still grieving.
Right.
Just like my sister, it's 20 years, but you never stop grieving.
Just learn how to cope and deal with it.
Exactly. And everybody grieves differently, but for me, people would say, well, I don't know how would you able to do this, because I had been down that dark place of depression, and I'm gonna be honest with you, when this first happened, I got real scared. I was terrified.
Right.
Because I did not want to go back down that dark. Because for me, it was even when I was young, I used to have this recurring dream of a bottomless pit. And that's what I was afraid of, that I would fall into this pit and I can't come back, But one thing but it's about the mind. Sometimes you have to learn that you can control your emotions.
Right.
We have the power to control our emotions. Right. And I just made up my mind. I was like, okay, God, I can't go down that road. So I'm just going to put this over here. Because sometimes you got to compartmentalize things. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm talking about my mind.
Right.
I had to compartmentalize, and I had to put this over here. And I had to ask myself, what would my son want me to do? Mm-hmm. Would he want me to fall apart? Would he want me to give up all the work that I've been doing to fall apart? And I knew that he would not want that for me. Absolutely. Okay? Because I remember him working side by side with me. He was a sweetheart. And I knew that. So I just had to, I made up my mind that I can't quit.
Right.
And it has very much been a healing thing for me. Now let me tell you, I got my good days and I got my bad days.
And that's what happened.
It's days I don't want to get up out the bed. Mm-hmm. It might be something that trigger a thought that'll just totally break me down. But you fall, but you don't stay there. You pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you got to keep going forward.
And you know what? Something that I've been telling myself as I've been going through my healing journey and just looking over myself. Allow yourself grace. Don't feel bad when you have bad days. Because you're going to have bad days.
Yes.
You are going to have, I will not sit here and tell somebody you're never going to have a bad day. Mm-hmm. You're going, give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace, but like you said, don't stay down. Don't stay down. You got to get back up. You got to keep on moving. You got to keep on fighting for what you need, what you want. You got to keep going.
Yes.
You got to keep going.
Yes. Yes. So I'm grateful, for this journey. Even all the heartbreak, all the pain, when I look back on it, it's what made me who I am.
It was the purpose. It was the purpose.
Yes.
It was the purpose. You have a comment. Lisa says, I really appreciate you. I've been through DV. I think that's Lisa, yeah. You are an inspiration, and thank you so much. To someone that could be going through it, I pray that they are on here listening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And next month is Domestic Violence, DV Awareness Month.
Yes.
And I just want people to encourage people to, study. Mm-hmm. There are so many resources out here, to educate yourself so that you can recognize the red flags before you get into a situation.
And oh shucks, I gotta hurry up.
We ran out of time.
Yeah, but it's okay. We just gotta do this and then. Okay, we're good to go. Continue. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. No, you don't run out of time. They just want to know you still active. Go ahead. Finish on.
Yeah. So yeah, I just want people to educate yourself, do your research, know what red flags are, and so that you can identify them early.
And let me say this: you are absolutely right, because as I mentioned earlier, I knew what I was going through from the education from her and Christine. But I will also tell you this: it's always good to do your best research, your own research. But you can always go to, and this is not a shameless plug, I'm being honest. You can go to my YouTube channel. If you're not following it, make sure you follow it. It's Talking with Tahnia. But when we did have the show with Christine, it was like strictly information. Like it was so much information. We went over the 7 types of DV, what each and every one of them meant. And that'll tell you so much. Like, you might be going through a situation with DV right now that you don't even notice it. But I'm telling you now, if you have not seen that interview, please be sure to check it out, because it's so informative. And even if it's not for you, you can still help a friend, a family member, or whoever. So please make sure that you check that one out, because as she said, DV month is next month, along with breast cancer month too. So we want to kind of touch both of those areas, because I'm going to revisit it. And I'll probably be reaching back out to y'all. But definitely check it out. Check it out.
Yes.
Check it out.
So, you got any more questions?
I don't, because I feel like you covered everything. You're just a blessing. Like, I don't know. I just love to see you. I feel like you're like a flower, like a blooming flower. Like, I feel like I saw you when you was like a bud, and I'm like, can you do this? And you're like, oh, you know. And then it's like, I'm just. It makes me happy. Like, it makes me smile to see you in your purpose.
Right. And you are part of my journey. You know?
Don't make me cry, girl.
I mean, you part of my journey, because had I not met
you gonna make me cry.
I wouldn't have met Christine.
Right.
You know, you part of my journey.
Oh, I appreciate it.
You know, and I always think that when I see people who are part of my journey, I hope they know that I'm asking God to pass them blessings, them same blessings that I'm getting. I pray and ask God to send them blessings, you know, to them. You know, we want to pay things forward, but when I win,
I get so emotional
you
these
win.
days. Don't even. I get so emotional these days. I don't know what's going on. Like,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yes.
I appreciate it. And I appreciate you sharing your story. I can't say it enough, but I do appreciate
Thank
all the
you.
information. I'll definitely, this show will be posted on YouTube. And when it does, I will make sure that I incorporate and put every single link that she gives me. I'll be putting it in there so that you have access to any resource that you need. I'll also be tagging crime survivors so you can, like, you know, check out the website, because again, you know, if you can use the help, if you know somebody else who can, we just want to make these resources available so that if you need them, that you can have access to them.
Yeah. And then you can follow me on Facebook.
Please follow her.
It's under Yolanda Jennings on Facebook. Yolanda M. Jennings on Instagram. But again, I'll give the links to her. So please, you know, follow me. You know, we are going to Crime Survivors. We're gearing up for our Heal the Vote campaign. We're gearing up for that. And then in December, we're going to have our member appreciation. And I'm working on some things for that.
Please keep us informed, because even once this is done, it's not the end of it. Like, I would still like to post, you know, any upcoming events, anything that you have, because we don't ever want to stop. We want to keep on moving, like we were talking about earlier. We want to keep on moving.
And then I want to shout out Purple House Project. This next weekend is the 7th, I think it's 7th, 7th annual My Purple Path walk. In Collingdale. So, you know, you could follow Purple House Project on Instagram and Facebook, and sign up to go on to their walk. Their focus, which it was actually something that I had brought to Christine's attention about focusing on the children and focusing on how domestic violence affects the children. You know, because I got firsthand knowledge of that. So she's going to have some amazing speakers, and they're going to have, resources and all kinds of things at the walk on next Saturday in Collingdale. So go to Purple House Project to get more information about that.
And if you scroll on my page, I actually have Purple House Project tagged. You can either look here on TikTok, or you also can look on my Instagram. But I tag, like, anybody who's on the show, I tag them in anything. So please be sure to follow, share, do whatever, repost, all of that.
Yeah, and then also I will be speaking October 26th for Viola's Place, which is a shelter out in New Jersey. And Darlene Keith Battle is having a women's summit. I'll be the keynote speaker. That is October the 26th. But again, I will provide that information if anybody's interested in coming out and, fellowshipping with us and, getting some good information. I'll be a speaker. They got people talking about credit repair and all kinds of different things.
Right.
So I just want to, let people know about that too.
Make sure y'all make it out to these events. Is it a fee for the event?
It's $85.
Okay.
For the summit, but that includes, your T-shirt and whatever else.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, invest in yourself anyway. Like, invest in information. You can pay. You can go, and then you can share it amongst your friends. So make sure that you follow all of her platforms. Make sure that you follow all of my platforms. Of course, on here it's Talking with Tahnia. Of course, on YouTube it's Talking with Tahnia, and of course on Instagram it's Talking with Tahnia. So I appreciate you for talking with Tahnia.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it,
and I really hope that you'll come back for future conversations.
Absolutely.
So that is a wrap. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I appreciate you all, and I will see you at the next show.
Y'all have a blessed one.